The Walt Disney Company seems to continue to make messes for itself over and over again. And whomever the next CEO is going to be walking into a litany of things to clean up. Flattening park attendance, theatrical performance over the last several years that hasn't really been all that great, television on Disney Plus that isn't really ringing the bell when it comes to viewership, especially not considering what they spend to make these shows. And if that new person is indeed Dana Walden, who is currently the co-chair of Walt Disney Studios along with Alan Bergman, then Dana is probably going to have some issues of her own to contend with on top of everything that she's going to inherit from Bob Iger. And most recently, a new controversy is brewing with ABC following the presidential debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris last week, where a whistleblower has come forward with an affidavit that was published online yesterday, on Sunday, September 15th, alleging that, yes, indeed, the debate was rigged in favor of Kamala Harris, whereby Donald Trump would be fact-checked and she wouldn't. And Dana Walden had some remarks on that, although they might not be what you'd think. This is what we're talking about. Earlier, we were talking about the assassination attempt again today, at least so it seems, on Donald Trump. Second one, ABC denies the extraordinary allegation about collusion between Kamala Harris and debate moderators after fury from MAGA. The allegation ain't all that extraordinary.
I'll just tell you.
If you watch the debate, it was blatantly obvious. But
okay, so let's take this into two parts. And this is going to be, we're going to be covering this on That Park Place, and we don't normally cover this sort of thing, but this will have major implications for Disney. This could get congressional hearings on the company, and it should. Anytime a corporation decides to put their thumb on the scale, I mean, I actually think this is interference. I won't put the words together, but election, and then ... and then that I word I said before. I'm not going to say them together because it'll flag some stuff here on the platform, but if you've got a corporation that decides that they're going to hold meetings with their moderators ahead of time to fact check only one candidate, that has to be that. And I would be angry if it went towards the other side, because I think that moderators should be essentially very quiet umpires who almost never, insert themselves. You're talking about people who are campaigning to be the next leaders of the world. They don't need nannies. These moderators decided that they were going to be the nannies of one candidate only. The reason the whistleblower is a story, but it might not be a story anymore, is because I think they got scared. And this Davis woman, she went to the LA Times, and she admitted that they did these sessions, that they studied Trump, that they studied what happened with the Biden debate, and that they prepared to fact check him and only him. Now, that was the original claim within this whistleblower. So the fact that she came out and said that seems to me to indicate that they knew this whistleblower was going to be legit, and they wanted to get ahead of it. The problem, Valiant, and I'm starting to give away what my video is in the morning, folks. I hope you'll still watch it, but this is too. We need to talk about this wherever we are, whenever we are right now, because it's such a big deal.
That's what we were talking about it earlier. Yeah,
there's no way, Valiant. There's no way that moderators at this level, with this kind of event, would hold multiple sessions on how to prevent a particular candidate from expressing their views, and that would not be cleared or known about by higher level execs within the company. There's no possible way. There's just no way that they're sitting there holding these kinds of brainstorming and practice sessions on how to shut down a candidate without their bosses knowing that's happening. That is beyond credulity. There's no way. So that's and once that came out, once she said that to the LA Times, and she wouldn't say that to the LA Times of her own free volition, that had to come out for a reason.
Right.
Well, that was what the whistleblower was saying. Well, now we've got the whistleblower, and you've got to have some kind of what would you say, sympathy and empathy for the whistleblower, because my gosh, talk about putting your livelihood, your career, your life in jeopardy. So they're, fair enough. They've redacted over the weekend. And I kind of thought, I went out on a limb Friday talking about it. And I thought, well, this is going to be one of those we're going to have to talk about it on Monday, and I'll have to say to the audience, folks, we talked about this, didn't come to pass. Apologies on that, but it did. The whistleblower affidavit is out there,
Yep.
and we'll have to go through it, see what it says beyond the big claim now, Valiant. And again, folks, I don't know if this is true, but the big claim, Valiant, is that there are now audio tapes that are going to be released that will confirm that ABC News/Disney was involved in planning this with a particular campaign. I mean, this is bombshell stuff.
Doesn't surprise. And again, leading report here on X, that's who originally had kind of dropped this a few days ago when I retweeted it. I didn't see this from this morning, I guess, or early this afternoon. But
right, and that's a fuzzy version. There are better versions out there. I don't know why it's such a low resolution, but
they had this original one was, and they reposted it here. That was a little bit cleaner.
Much better, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, when you look here, this person, my name is redacted. I reside redacted in New York. I've worked for ABC for over 10 years in various technical and administrative positions. Since the acquisition of ABC News in 1996, I've observed significant transformations in the nature of news reporting at the organization. The changes suggest a shift from unbiased reporting to a model influenced by external factors. For the record, I don't actually endorse Donald Trump in his capacity as candidate for president. The intent of this affidavit is to address concerns regarding perceived biases within news reporting. Since the debate of President Trump and Vice President Harris has been announced to be broadcast, various members of the staff had expressed a hope of a debate where issues that were important to everyday Americans would be discussed, and there had been promises made that the candidates would be held to firm discussions regarding their proposed policy stances, and that the debate would not deteriorate into an ad campaign, whereas both candidates would simply make blanket statements without specific policy or explanation as to, and then they redacted this section as well.
And let me insert here, Valiant, that folks, we're not here to play politics with you. This is going to have an impact on the biggest entertainment company in the world. I mean, there's no way that Disney gets out of this one if this is legit, and it seems to be legit. Don't know that. But the other thing, Valiant, is that CNN, this is key to understand this. CNN held the debate, and most people said, Joe Biden didn't like it, but that was a whole different thing. And we saw a physical ailment on display. But everybody that I have seen, heard, talked to on either side of the aisle thought that the CNN moderators did pretty well, which was a surprise. The reason they did well is because they stuck with the agreements that were made between the two candidates. And one of those agreements was that the moderators would not fact check them, because that's the job of the candidates to do that to each other.
Right.
Okay, fair enough. So then you had weeks and weeks and months of Kamala Harris and her campaign wanting a change to the rules for the ABC News debate because they wanted the mics turned on for the entire time. Okay. Well, the reason that they had to argue for that is because the same rules that were agreed to for CNN were the same rules that had been agreed to for ABC. Well, those rules that were the same for CNN and the same for ABC were that there would be no fact checking. So what you have here, this is scandalous. What you have here is that both campaigns had agreed to no fact checking by moderators because it's inappropriate.
Yeah.
And then you had the Disney Corporation planning to do fact checking in multiple sessions, now admitted by the female moderator, Miss Davis, and apparently conveying that to one political party so that they would know and be, confident that that was going to happen. This is we said the EI phrase. This is EI. It's all you can take away from it, and it's Disney.
Yeah,
they need to be under congressional investigation now.
Well, you look here from this affidavit that was signed by this whistleblower. Furthermore, the Harris campaign imposed restrictions on the scope of questioning. No questions regarding the perceived health of Joe Biden. No inquiries related to her tenure as Attorney General in San Francisco, which is outrageous to me. I mean, what other prior job experience did you really have? I mean, she never really had a real job in her life. She went right into being, a prosecutor and then into Attorney General. I mean, she's been a political rat her entire life.
But we can't ask about her time in California as state attorney general, which apparently was not that great. No questions concerning her brother-in-law, Tony West, who faces allegations of embezzling billions of dollars in taxpayer funds, who may be involved in her administration if elected. So basically, I mean, ABC was made to agree to not ask Kamala Harris anything at all of substance about her character and experience.
Right. And there's no way, Valiant, that these stipulations put forth, and by the way, I don't believe for a second that the Harris campaign enforced these upon ABC. I believe that it was collaborated. Now, that's my opinion.
Yeah.
But let me say this. What makes this even more devious, besides the collusion, is the fact that it subverts the other candidate, because there's no way ABC was sharing this with the other side.
No.
And again, folks, if this was done in the opposite direction, I would be infuriated, because we need free and transparent elections, and the processes that lead us to those decisions should be open and should be beyond scrutiny. This is everything but. This is a 180 away from any kind of rapport that they can have with us now. I mean, this is it. This is over. Disney now is a scumbag corporation, and they need to be investigated.
Yeah, I mean, you look here, no surprise with this Disney subsidiary. This is the whistleblower speaking. I have observed a pronounced bias against Donald Trump within ABC News. You think? Employees expressing favorable views towards him experience significant concerns about potential retribution from the company, from their superiors at the company. I'm sure
I can't even imagine if you were pro-Trump outwardly at Disney. I mean, Valiant, we have done, you and I have done investigative work. We've talked to insiders. We've brought those stories out. They've been interviewed on both of our channels, where if you said something that was a sensible centrist kind of thing, that HR would call you in and they would go through your social media at Disney. I can't even imagine how you would even survive if you were actually a pro Trump employee at Disney. I can't even imagine what would happen to you. I mean,
yeah,
they would find a reason to fire you outright, it seems to me.
Yeah, now I can't wait to hear. This is the part here. The unnamed individual, the whistleblower, states that he or she is in possession of secret recordings, as per this tweet, that will prove ABC News rigged the presidential debate. And again, I don't think anybody is going to be the least bit surprised if and when that comes out. And
so now let's say this too, all right? Because there are layers to this. So in the last election cycle, if this had happened, it would have been absolutely suppressed to the point you could not share it. This is the laptop story returned. This is at that level. The idea that a giant corporation whose best friend is likely to be the next CEO of Kamala Harris, we're talking about Dana Walden. The idea that they may have colluded together against a particular candidate to destroy their ability to win the presidency, that's insane. All of that said, if it were not for Elon Musk, we would not be able to cover this.
No.
The fact that there is a place where free speech can happen pressures all the other platforms to not censor it into the ground, because people will flood X to go find out what's happening. And that's it's the pressure point that goes beyond the platform that he purchased. He literally saved free speech. He's not a perfect person. Some things he's wrong about, but he saved free speech in the Western world. And he spent a pretty penny to do so.
Well, that's why most of these foreign governments, especially the socialist European governments, I mean, they can't stand him.
They want to jail him.
Yeah, they want to put him in prison because he has a free speech platform, and they always hide behind this mask of hate speech or controlling quote-unquote misinformation, which is just code language for the government does not approve of this, which you've either got free speech or you don't, kids. There's really no in the middle. And the idea that you can just label whatever you want as hate speech, and then it's okay for the government to penalize you or put you in prison or fine you or take away your business or sue you into oblivion or just censor you outright is ridiculous. And we've allowed too much of that to permeate general society now where people actually believe it's okay to regulate quote unquote hate speech. And then I always ask the question, who gets to decide what that is?
By the way, we've got a response from Dana Walden just breaking Valiant. I'll send this your way. Here we go.
Here we go, kids. Let's see. Dana Walden from Walt Disney Company responds to claims that the presidential debate was biased due to her friendship with Kamala Harris. Here we go.
Got to talk about Kamala Harris. Obviously, the far right has come after you, saying you're friends with her, so the debate was biased. What do you say to that?
You know, I really don't want to dignify it with much of a response. I have the highest regard for everyone at ABC News. It's the most professional organization, the most top-notch journalists, and it doesn't really dignify much of a response.
Got to talk about Kamala Harris.
Here's a
Obviously,
response.
The far right has come after you.
If it's not true, then say no.
Debate was biased.
Right, exactly.
This is bad. This is bad.
Look, let's watch the body language here.
What do you say to that?
Looking up and to the right. Let's see if I can find an answer here.
This is bad.
You could just say, you know, look, I've heard this. Nothing could be further from the truth. Nobody did anything improper. We followed all of the rules laid out. Blah 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 blah. You know, between the two parties, and that's it.
You could say we would never do that. Next question.
Yeah,
and then that's over.
You know, I really.
Yeah. I did this idea that, like,
really don't want to dignify it with much of a response. I have the highest regard for everyone.
I don't want to dignify it with a response. Well, okay, look. Here's the thing. If somebody had just walked out of nowhere and said ABC was favoring candidate A over candidate B, right? And there was no other clearly visual evidence out there to support such a claim, I can see how somebody like Dana Walden in her position might be tempted to just, I'm not even dignify. Y'all saw the debate. Did anything look off to you? No. Next question. Versus, yeah, everybody in the world could clearly see what the moderators were doing. You can't even question this. They were fact-checking one candidate, quote-unquote fact-checking, and letting the other candidate get away with whatever she wanted to say without a single stitch of pushback on anything. The fact of the matter is, America saw what it saw. It was clear as a bright, sunny day. This isn't up for theory. This isn't up for debate, no pun intended, or maybe.
The mods are admitting it. Like, what do you? It's not the far right. It's your own moderators.
This is the stupidest answer. I mean, look. She has to know this looks bad. But if it didn't happen, then just say it didn't happen. I don't think she can say that because then it would be a lie. Right?
This reeks of legal speak.
She doesn't want to lie. She doesn't want to lie on camera that everybody's going to see that she's lying. She wants to deflect. So you say, I'm not even going to dignify this with, by talking about it or whatever she says here.
Everyone at ABC News.
Got to talk about Kamala Harris. Obviously, the far right has come after you.
She already looking nervous right now.
Let me show you how this works, Valiant. You ready? Valiant, did you set fire to your neighbor's house?
No.
Easy. Okay.
Yeah, that was easy. I want you again, watch her face at the beginning of this and watch the shift.
Got to talk about Kamala.
She's smiling. She's comfortable. She's just there.
Kamala Harris, obviously the far right.
I want to talk about Kamala Harris. She's like, okay, look at her lips.
Mm-hmm.
She's tensing.
A bit.
Yeah, they're getting pursed right there.
Right has come after you.
She's gonna brush the hair out.
Comfort swish.
She's obviously getting nervous.
And you're friends with her, so the debate.
And then she's back to compose myself. Now put the smile back on, and we're gonna get through this. Look! Just watch the shift in the body language with her.
It was biased. What do you say to that?
Look to the right, which is the tail.
I don't have an answer. I
Up
don't.
and to the
It's
right.
more or less. I don't want to answer this question.
If your kids pause and look up
I
and to the
really don't
right,
wanna dig
they're
up-
in trouble.
Yeah, they're usually lying to you. I mean, I saw it. I mean, look, again, we all saw the debate. We know it happened. We absolutely know it. We all watched it happen. We watched it happen in real time, like a dozen times. It didn't happen once or twice. It happened over and over and over again for the entire debate.
Well, can we just say that this is a spiffy way of her saying, I'm not going to answer the question?
Yeah, that's
so-
all it is.
Right. I mean, I don't want to dignify it with a response is the same thing as saying, I'm not going to answer that. It's
Yep.
just made to give you the feeling of elitism.
Yeah.
It's a vapid attempt at moral authority.
That's it.
Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.